I'm sad that we didn't get my Native American Jew jokes in.
Well, you should have. Well, you shouldn't have done them before.
Oh, it's fine. We can recreate them.
I could just start the podcast with you saying that, though.
Yeah, you could. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Four Nerds Save the Universe, episode 18?
18.
18, yeah.
The podcast that almost didn't happen.
Yeah, because somebody decided to play hooky.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, you.
I was like, I won't be here this weekend.
That's because of conventions.
And then I was suddenly here at 2. I'm like, oh, I'm super here this weekend.
You weren't here at 2. You were here at like 3:15.
I was here, yeah. You know.
If we're operating on wander time, that's totally acceptable.
Oh, Jesus, this picture of you. Apparently you were friends with a doppelganger of my best friend from high school.
Oh,
look at this guy.
You were best friends with my brother in high school?
Apparently I was. God
no.
Damn.
Wait, is that the brother you're looking at?
Hold on. I'm trying to... There we go.
The first thing we're going over on this basically audio podcast is a picture that people can't see.
That was my graduating class.
Apparently this guy is like the Stepford wife of like high school friends.
I don't have words.
Why? Do you have someone in your past that looks like that?
No.
Okay.
Your brother looks nothing like you.
No, he doesn't.
People used to confuse me and my brother for being twins when we were young.
I guess you guys have like the same chin.
Well, maybe it's because you're smiling and he's just sort of like,
I guess everyone's putting the pictures up. Okay, I'm gonna display capture this.
Oh, goody.
Yeah.
There we are. There's this guy's my best friend, and then there's Keith.
You guys are gonna have to go to Bird's side of things for this.
I guess I'm gonna have to go to Bird's side of things for this. Yep. He's gonna have to send me photos to put on the actual video podcast.
Wait, and you like yellow Gatorade? For shame.
Oh, that's his pee bottle. Okay. This is after a long road trip.
Sorry, blue's the best.
What? And they have a cooler back there, so they kept their pee bottles cold.
I will. Trip. Oh no! I thought you said B bottle, like I was cycling through different bottles, but you meant pee bottle. Oh,
right. All right, so this podcast started as they usually end.
Yeah.
Let's re-rail.
With the deranged, meandering whimper.
Oh, shit.
Not with a bang, but with a confused...
You're not recording?
No, I'm recording. I forgot something.
What did you forget?
What have you done?
Horrible things. Let me see if I can...
It's fine. Okay, so back to Jewish Native American names.
A 0 here.
I can't tell how this podcast is even starting. What's going on?
No, it's good. So I forgot that OBS's default encoding is 1,000 kilobytes. So you're going to get some really shitty face cam from me, and then it's going to just crank up 3 minutes in.
I was confused why you were self-narrating your technical fixes.
Yeah.
He's an LPer. It's what he does, right?
Yeah. Has to. Okay, so now that we've gotten all the stuff out of our system, can we talk about Mass Effect Andromeda a little bit?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Right. So Keith hasn't gotten very far. We finished the end of the trial, and Bird watched part of us playing.
I watched a little bit. I watched the multiplayer too.
Okay.
But I've been tuning in and out.
Yeah. So I guess I figured I should probably preface this a little bit, where the entire internet has kind of lined themselves up to take pot shots at this game, which is why I would even call any of this noteworthy, because the game itself is decidedly all right. It's just every time I wake up, I pull out my phone, I start browsing through my
everyone having negative
Twitter
reviews.
feeds and news feeds and whatever, and it's just like Mass Effect Andromeda, like facial animation, so and so and so and so.
Most of the complaints are regarding story and animation.
Yeah, story, animation, writing, whatever. And it's just kind of interesting seeing just how many people are so aggressively hating on this game. Like, we streamed it the first night.
It's not really... Honestly, it's not a surprise.
I guess. I don't know. It bugs me that it's like... It's not a bad game. And
for me, as somebody who played
through
through the entirety of Inquisition on YouTube, I'm super used to the internet being very mad at BioWare games.
I didn't hear nearly as much
Inquisition
about
came out in the wave after Gamergate.
Oh Jesus, yeah, Inquisition was like a magnet.
So it's like, what?
Stuff.
Your guy can fuck the guy, and there's one girl that's only lesbian. That's SJW. Blah blah. And people are really mad about stuff, and then you find like an interview about some person working on the probably 200-person team that they've
Mhm.
like, that sets things that are shittier, and so that's all the more reason to hate the entire project and everyone in it.
Wait, so were the only
it's
complaints
exhausting.
regarding romance options, or was it something
basically
more?
everything you can imagine.
Yeah.
In the case of Inquisition, that was the type of complaint that masked the more legitimate things to talk about, like how it has MMORPG style, like mass-produced garbage quests, which was a real bummer, or how the ending just whimpers out and ends. They had to
Plus,
add an
if I
entire
remember, that
new
game had a
ending to the
couple
game.
It had a couple of like women characters that weren't like, hot. So
Yeah.
People have been
yeah.
doing that
People-
with, we have the default main character that's female for
In,
Andromeda.
Yeah, so the exact same thing is happening with that too. It's been fun.
I was
I actually
frustrated
didn't think they were
because
going to
there
discuss
was
this, but
I
There
wanted
you
to
go.
talk about it a little bit, seeing as it was relevant. The only thing that really bugs
relatively
me about
ballsy.
I think she looks genuine. Like she looks like a genuine
She looks
person.
like a real person.
The problem
Definitely.
is
Yeah.
their eyes sometimes go in
Well,
opposite directions when they're
they,
talking.
Yes.
So I was actually I was floating this idea. They mocapped all the faces with the people just reading from a sheet.
Are you sure?
Yeah, they
about
didn't do-
that, though?
No, it's true. They didn't because nobody was looking at each other. They didn't do
Yeah.
what's it called? Sight lines?
They
Yeah,
didn't
is
do
that what's
cast
called in animation?
interactions.
So like
Yeah.
we were talking to a guys and his eyes were like
Darting all
going
over the
back
place.
and forth constantly. And
Yes.
I'm like, I bet they have him in a recording studio with like a fan nearby because he was like blinking as though like his eyes were drying out. And
Yeah.
his eyes were darting back and forth as though he were reading a script.
I
I'm
noticed
like,
that some people's eyeballs come through their lids when they blink.
Oh god.
yeah.
Turian's is
I have special eyes.
Turians do
I
have a
have
history
specialized-
of broken eyes over the course of the franchise.
True.
You guys see the GIF on Reddit earlier today on
What?
the
No.
like really messed up shepherd? Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, I saw that. God, the Monster Factory video.
Yeah.
Well, is this
I
just
watched that today.
really bad character customization?
Well, it was
or
just
what?
a GIF, if I remember. It's like my face when somebody. Oh yeah, here we are. My reaction when I hear other people calling Mass Effect Andromeda ugly. I'm gonna throw this in.
Oh, but
Yeah.
My
they
chats.
they
That's good
intentionally
stuff.
made their character's
But,
face
like-
like that.
It's just I.
The one that looks like a shoe, like his skull was replaced with a boot.
It's
That's alarming.
It's
So
great
you meant
stuff.
Ryder then, not Shepard?
Yeah. Well, this is Shepard's
yeah.
face.
This-
It is
this
Shepard.
one.
Okay.
Yeah, from this GIF. But
How did they get their jaw off
I
kilter?
don't know.
I don't know. They must
I
have
think-
hacked the.
Yeah, to remove the limits because
yeah, they-
you
they
you
did
can't
that,
make
I
that.
think. Can't do
If you could make that, I would have made that.
Oh no!
Not for like a
No.
serious playthrough, but
Oh, it's
like
a
I
Donkey
probably
Kong
would have.
character.
Yeah, I would have made that first, and then Shell would have freaked out and been like, "No!" And then I would have gone back to something a little bit more normal. Actually, one of the other critiques that I heard, and then I'm looking at this now, Andromeda is so much more bright and colorful than old Mass Effect,
So
and
that's-
that makes such a huge difference in like.
That's
You
one
know,
of the
the
first things that
faces.
came up when I was playing was this idea that
Yeah.
it doesn't look, sound, or feel like a Mass Effect game off my first few hours, and that I'm wandering around the planet. It's like a super hyper contrast, hyper colorful area, whereas like the original Mass Effect was so oftentimes monochrome, but in a stylish way that it like they even offered the film grain filter as an option to try to emulate the type of movie it was emulating in the first place. Weirdly, like it went away over the course of the franchise because the series stopped fitting the kind of slow Star Trek stand around stuff and started being more action oriented in the sequels. But then Andromeda brings back the film grain option, and it doesn't even slightly make sense to turn on because nothing about this even slightly looks like it would be on a thing that had film grain in the first place. Because it's crazy jet. It more than anything, it feels like I'm playing a game based on the Star Trek reboot movies, where people have jetpacks and jump around in crazy burning things that are going to bore holes into the center of the planet to blow it up and stuff like that. Like it doesn't feel like a Mass Effect setting or look at in the first place. To the point where at one point I was saying like this kind of feels like a reboot of Advent Rising instead of Mass Effect. And for like as far as looking, like feeling and sounding, like yeah, you walk around and like I go on the Nexus, and when I was on the Citadel in Mass Effect 3, there were like 50 plus people standing around in one room sometimes because they're all refugees and security guards, and everybody had a place and people were talking to each other or they're gathered around certain spots, and you could actually figure out what every individual person was doing in the environment around you, and they all made sense. But I walk around the Nexus and there's just like, I'll see the same Asari like 5 times in the same room, all with an Omni tool doing something. But at the time, like, I'm doing the info dump screen that they put there for you for the tour or whatever, and there's like 2 Asari standing in front of it calibrating something on their Omni tool. I'm like, why are you standing in front of the screen? And why do you keep stopping in front of the screen? It's just a screen, and it's just for a tour.
The future is broken, dude.
One thing I don't get are the guys crouching with their pistols cocked.
Yeah,
like they're just
I saw that guy.
In various rooms.
He looks like he's guarding an outpost in the middle of the wilderness, but he's standing in the middle of the Nexus, just standing there where nothing's happening, and he's like holding his gun in his hand up his head as he crouches and looks around like he's surveying the scene, and it doesn't even slightly fit. Like no one fits their setting.
But there are 5 of them.
And
to
none
some
of the
degree,
and
I
I've
almost kind of understood it because they recently had like an armed insurrection, so it's like it kind of makes sense. But it definitely doesn't look like they're prepped for that again.
Guard the trash cans.
And so far,
pretty much.
So far, I've met a Krogan, a Turian, and a Solarian, and none of them sound like a Krogan, a Turian, or a Solarian. That's weirding me out. I just finished the trilogy. I just finished the trilogy, and you know what a Krogan, a Solarian, and Turian sound like. And the first Solarian I meet just sounds like that guy from HBO because he is.
Yeah.
And he's unfiltered. And they gave the one Turian you meet
because they're filtered.
The male Turian you meet at the beginning, he has like a weirdly high pitched voice, like he almost sounds like a Turian going through puberty. And so when they put the filter through him, like he doesn't have a bassy voice in the first place, so the filter doesn't pick up on anything. So it's just an arbitrary distortion added to his voice that doesn't amplify it to make him sound Turian.
They sound like they recorded these lines over Skype or something. Like
I assume he's
fine,
some celebrity too or something. Like. Like, maybe that's why he's in there, even though he doesn't fit either. It's weird.
I'm going to be totally honest. It bugs me how often, like, celebrity voice actors show up in kind of non-critical roles. Because
well, they've done it a lot in Mass Effect.
Yeah, but, like...
But so much better. Elusive Man?
Yeah, so, like...
So good.
He's a crucial role. He makes sense. But I'm talking about, like, the Solarian guy. Like, he's an HBO actor. But, like, they could have hired, like, a decent guy not from HBO and not spent all the extra money for a celebrity.
Just have, or make him play a human.
Dude, they had Conan O'Brien voice act, like, a janitor or something in the first Mass Effect, didn't they?
I mean, I guess if it's, like, voluntary on that part, it's just always one of those where it's, like, all of these big games have, like, high budgets, and I'm like, why waste it on some celebrity that like nobody's gonna notice unless it's like
well, they probably
I feel
wanted
like the celebrities should just play humans, and then a lot of the problems go away at the very least for like them not being portrayed properly or messing with the portrayal of what they're playing. Because like the girl from Chuck was fine at playing Miranda.
That was her.
Yeah, like shit, that was a celebrity actor. But there's issues with making real people and putting them in a Mass Effect game, because then you end up with stuff like Jacob from Mass Effect 2, who looks like a monstrosity whenever he's animated. Which maybe we're skipping over a little bit by complaining about the animations in this one specifically, because like. Do people remember Jacob in Mass Effect 2? Because he's scary.
Everyone remembers that.
And also, male Shepard on a regular basis was like, what's going on with your face? Or female Shepard was, what's going on with your neck? Because it looked like a cue ball on the end of a stick, and it was just rotating in impossible angles sometimes while the neck was completely still. Like a LA Noire character.
I will admit, one of the reasons why I want to be kind of forgiving, though, with a lot of this is, like, crossing the Uncanny Valley is really hard. And, like... It's still going to take another, like, decade or two before, like, realism actually doesn't look like pure butts.
Yeah.
So, somebody has to do it.
Is it ever going to even be worth it, though?
For me, though...
I'm in favor of stylization over it, but it's very worth it if we want to do proper mocap.
Stylization can be great, yeah. But, for me, the issue here is that they keep trying to make the sequels bigger and better, supposedly, and I hate that. Because Mass Effect 1 was such a tight, controlled experience with a well-paced narrative and really cool, carefully crafted environments that were had so much detail put into how they were going to play out, that the game largely didn't have that much content. But like the characters in them, like even the boring characters of the first game are like Ashley. And guess
And
what,
Caden's-
Ashley?
Caden's horrible.
Like you can watch up a scene. You can look up a scene of Ashley talking about her family and look at all the little like animation ticks over the course of the scene and like all these nice little things. And then you compare that to like the average interaction you're encountering in like in Andromeda so far, and it's like a guy staring blankly into the forward and just like flat mouthing. Basically, I don't think it doesn't seem like actual motion capture. Like if it's supposed to be motion capture, it seems like they somehow don't know how to do motion capture because people are usually not completely immobile and dead.
Yeah, I was also surprised initially making our rounds just to try to strike conversation with people. Even our own party members, they only had one sentence to say, no segue
Well, I think,
into
I
anything
think in
else.
that case we were talking to them in the wrong spot. Like we were looking out over an area.
Yeah.
Plus, you guys were playing the beta, so you had 10 hours.
There's
you were
not going to
running
be much
past
of
a
a
lot of stuff.
Oh yeah,
probably.
But the thing was, we were talking with some of our crewmates, like the mechanic or the pilot and such, and already they're springing romance.
Oh yeah, you can
on
hit
us.
on like everybody
And
immediately,
it's
and it's just
no,
like
That's
we're
good
not
stuff.
doing that yet. We barely know these people.
It's a video game. Who cares?
The hitting on things on accident is a real thing, though, in Mass Effect.
True.
Shepard
You're like,
was-
this dialogue seems normal, and you're like, would you like to go back to my spaceship? And then she's like, okay. And then you're like, I guess I'm watching a cutscene now. And then your parents
waiting
walk
to
in, and you're like,
see-
God damn it.
We're waiting to see what crew members and characters are interested. I mean, obviously, being a female character, our options are limited to some respect. Same with males. I mean, obviously, there are characters. What are the romantic options for the female writer? Like,
Probably the first
Korean,
guy you meet, I assume.
yeah, the
Wait, you
guy.
play as a male writer?
Liam.
Or a male character in Mass Effect Andromeda?
Yeah. So they're two
Jesus,
siblings.
the criticism of Sarah Ryder has overshadowed so much. I didn't even
It's-
realize there was a second character.
it's because
Oh.
the
Wow.
male version
Not only
is
that-
kind of boring.
They're twin siblings.
Like 80% of Mass Effect players play male, even though there's this whole undercurrent of people like Jennifer Hale, yay, in the first trilogy. And I did my recording of the series in as Jennifer Hale for that reason, because Mark
Oh
Mear's
yeah,
kind of
Jennifer Hale's
kind
one of my
not
favorite
great.
voice actresses.
But given that the new
male
two
writer
people,
is damn good looking.
the two people felt like nobodies, so I was like, I'll play male just because default for me. So I just went in blind that way. But I'll never know the supposed issues with female writer because I customized her. So I have two custom characters, so I don't know what either of them look like by default
Yeah.
at this
Couldn't
point.
Yeah, we
Customized.
can't. I've gone back
It's grayed
twice
out
now
for you,
to
yeah.
go looking, and it's just grayed out, and I'm like, well, okay. I mean, it doesn't bug me too much. It's just like,
Well, another thing we were concerned about is, I mean, the animations are already wonky enough as it is, but the custom characters might have, well, not the custom ones, the like original defaults might have slightly better animations than the ones that are custom, surely because they were actually made for it.
True,
But I don't
yeah.
know.
For me, I'm
Oh.
not super big on animation, although I wish they would just give the slightest effort of animating them at all in some cases. Like that one lady that almost has clown makeup on at the beginning of the game
Oh,
is
you mean Addison?
completely immobile, which was weird. But more than anything, like it feels like they took the complaint that Inquisition's mass-produced dialogue interactions, the ones for the minor quests, they would just keep the camera far away from you. It wouldn't even zoom in a slight bit, and people would just jabbermouth at each other while the voice acting played from a distance. And I hated that because it felt so impersonable because I couldn't even recognize half the NPCs by
You're talking
face
about
at that
Dragon
point.
Age right now, right?
Dragon Age Inquisition, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
In that game, it felt so impersonable. Like I wouldn't even like learn to recognize people individually because I never saw them up close. I would just hear their voice for a few quests and stuff like that. And that was kind of a bummer because I'm used to getting used to various characters, even the minor ones, over the course of like a Mass Effect game or even the old Dragon Age game. So that felt like a bummer. So, but this game, it seems like they may have kept the same animation style of almost not animating people, but then zoomed in, almost as a response to criticism. But now it's just like a close-up view of them jabbermouthing, and that's it, which is kind of a bummer.
I feel like the game has, God, what's it called? A really weird focal length at all times.
Yeah.
So, like, during the main game, you have, like, this fairly broad focal length, and then in all of your dialogue scenes, it keeps that really long focal length, which makes everyone's face look really wide and weird. Like,
Oh, yeah,
let me show
like-
you guys a GIF of what that's all about.
Like when a camera's too close to your face, like what I say
Oh,
about
yeah,
my
I've
own
seen
but
that
web,
you don't
before.
adjust the focal length.
like what I say
yeah.
about my own webcam, where I'm like, no, I
Yeah.
want it further away.
Here, let me show you a GIF that captures what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
You can see, like, so this is the effect on somebody's face just from changing the length of the of like the distance of the aperture to like the sensor, if I remember. So you get like a really weird effect going on to everyone's faces, like all the time. That's really distorted about like how far away they are from the camera too. And I feel like they just didn't bother to control that in a lot of their dialogue scenes.
Is
So
that
stuff
the
ends up
character
looking a
you-
lot worse?
Is that the custom female writer that you
Yeah,
made?
I threw mine in.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
That's
let's
not
see.
bad.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
focal length can be really strange, and I can't. I am still watching this video. I mentioned earlier about like just the idea of Ashley Williams in the first game, for example, and like
Yeah.
there's so many little eyebrow twitches and head tilts and like head nods that actually match
Yeah.
what you're doing and stuff like that. I'm like, wow, look, a person's
Yeah.
talking to me. Like she looks like shitty 2007 graphics, and I'm still like, hey, a person's talking to me in this game about talking to people.
Yeah, they don't nod their heads. I was actually thinking that. They don't
Speaking
nod,
of-
they don't tilt.
Super minor aside, speaking of nodding heads, I'm tired of looking at dialogue between characters in Horizon Zero Dawn where
Yes.
they have like procedurally generated head nods that don't even slightly match their emphasis of their
yeah.
sentences.
The
Is
characters
that
look
why that
great.
happened?
Yeah, that game is
Oh,
just randomly
God.
wobbling their heads around, and it's supposed to just look like people are talking, but they're just like, I can't even pretend to do it. I was trying to pretend to do it on webcam, but I can't not attach
Hey,
my head wobs
hey,
to my
let,
what
let
I'm
us see our
saying.
webcam. I probably could imitate it.
Mm.
It's just
Yep.
sort of like, hello there. How
Yeah, like I
can
liked
hear the
Horizon Zero
weird
Dawn
nod.
a lot.
Yeah,
That was
there's like
such
Listen to what you said.
there's so many weird nods mid sentence and stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing?
That was such a good game, but I hated talking to people because it's like I recognize that you have a great face, but the lip syncing was slightly off and the animations were slightly
Why
off.
was it off?
I
God,
don't
that
know.
drove me insane.
It was weird. Also, like story missions really were just like find the log hunt. Like it was such a weird thing for me. To some
Find
degree,
the
like
log hunt.
well, so
I don't know
after
what
a
those
certain
words
point
mean.
of after a certain point of playing the game, I got kind of tired of it because like open world games can only like capture my interest for so long. So I decided to do like the second half of the game back to back, like every story mission without pause, like without even doing any side quests.
Oh,
And what you do is you go into a facility, and it almost immediately is just like a log, and you listen to the log, and then you go into the next one, and rinse, repeat until like maybe a couple enemies show up, and then you go back to log, and you're either reading them or you're listening to them, and you have to hunt for them with
I
a
think you
scan
need to
tool.
clarify log file. I think,
Yeah, log
I
files.
think
You know,
people
Yeah,
even
I thought he was
Yeah.
talking about
a log.
timber.
like wood.
And
No,
lumber.
sorry. And it actually kind of ruined my immersion for the game. I was like, oh, this is like a really sweet story that I'm listening to, like after the fact, because you're unraveling like what the Zero Dawn thing was.
so you hit a point
is-
where basically the entire game story is like, instead of being a cross section of all the types of content the game has, it's like one type of mission repeating over and over again, and you have to play
Yeah.
all the side quests to get other types of content.
Pretty much. And
That wa-
like every
that- yeah,
once in a while, I'd
that
fight
was the
like a
weird
big
problem
robot.
that like Final Fantasy 15 had, where like every story,
Yeah.
if you played a story mission, you were going to get a cutscene heavy gimmick sequence where you kind of just press buttons mostly and wait for the story to continue. Whereas every single side content was like, here's this mechanic we're going to explore, and turned out to be the meat of the game, basically. Like
And
some
so it
games
was
almost
just-
fall apart when you play the main story, which is weird.
That was kind of my problem with Horizon Zero Dawn, because you're probably supposed to be like alternating, but for me, I was just like, nope, I want to get this done because I don't want this to be a 60 episode series. I want this to be like a 40 episode series. And it came apart a little bit. It's still one of the better games I've ever played, but it's just like, yep, they did not figure out how to pace that content out.
It's interesting. I'm finding the quests surprisingly entertaining. Like you'll be doing some random quest where you're like, oh, track down those people that took my stuff, and then like in the middle of finding them, you'll find them like like stuck up in like a tree, hiding away from a monster, and like you're like it feels like you're just showing up just in time for things in an organic way, as opposed to having a cutscene trigger that tells you that you're showing up just in time. To the point where I couldn't tell if I was walking up on the quest or just random procedural stuff was happening in front of me, but it was actually probably how it always turns out, which is that's a cool thing.
I played the same quest. They did a very good job of like integrating the open world into those quests. Like it was fun to come across like a area and people were doing something. It's like, oh hey, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see with Andromeda. I've literally haven't made it past the Nexus at the beginning of the game. All I know is that I've played it. Though. All I know is I've played it for a few hours and have not met a character I care about yet, which feels weird for a BioWare game.
Do you have 10 hours? Is that the time cap you get?
I've put about 6 hours into it. Okay. 6, 7 into the main story, and then a little bit into the.
That's a really cool, kind of neat system. Do you guys think that that's like been a very effective way to market the game? Or
yes and no.
I think it's kind of messed up.
Yeah, I like the idea of it, but I think their execution was bad.
I think the problem is they don't have anything to grip you that makes you want more.
Well, yeah. So beyond just the fact that their first hour, like the tutorial mission was pretty good, but then once you get to EOS, it kind of like opens up, but it's limited.
Oh, destroy this camp. Destroy
I'm just a little concerned that it may be another method of getting people to buy a game that reviewers haven't had a chance to look at yet.
Yeah.
Much like how Bethesda's just like, we're not going to send review copies to people until literally the day it comes out, meaning they can't review it till days after the first huge chunk of purchases happen.
I will say, though, I really appreciate the fact that they did give us 10 hours to mess around with the game ahead of time. I just actually really wish it wasn't 10 hours. I wish it was...
You wish it was content locked as opposed to time locked?
I wish it was content locked as opposed to time locked.
But we did get the content lock because we...
Well, yeah, we did. But, like, I didn't try and figure out my issues with character customization because any kind of bug
fixing... You felt like you had to move on.
Oh, yeah, because you would spend an X amount of time with character customization, then you try multiplayer, and then you're like, oh, that's all counting towards my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, I actually didn't want to experiment or explore. I was very goal-focused. And so, like,
it was kind of unusual to watch you
anyway.
guys, you two play it because, like, it was like, we gotta go. Like, I've never seen you two so lockstep on, like, we just gotta keep going. We gotta keep going with this game. It was fascinating.
Like, normally I'm all for doing everything but the plot because I want to see, like, what the rest of the game is like. But in this case, it was just like, no, like, we're not going to have enough time. And then we hit the door and we have, like, 3 hours left. And I'm like, well, shit, now what do we do? Yeah. Like, I'd much rather it just be, you hit the door, all right, well, I still got, like, a couple of mining areas, a couple of caves, you know, throw in some barriers and invisible walls. Like, screw it, I don't care.
I noticed that, like, watching your stream, though, some people didn't get that that's what you were doing. So, like, you were catching it, like, it's a tiny amount of shit. But I just wanted to know if, like, you're getting more than I was aware of. Or people, people were like, why is he not talking to anybody? Why is he running past everybody? It's like, because he's got 10 hours, man.
Yeah.
He's locked out.
Yeah, just got to the Nexus, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to say anything beyond just, like, you spend a lot of time talking to people, and, like, towards the tail end of it, then you go into the classic Mass Effect, like, planet scanning. And so, like, by the end of it, I'm just like, I just want to go shoot things because I've spent the last, like, 2 hours talking and scanning. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with this. It's very classic BioWare. But I know I have a limited amount of time, and boy, would I like to see some of that actual gameplay. Because, like, the tutorial mission is nice, but you don't really level up. You can't switch guns. All you have is a pistol and, like, a submachine gun and a rifle. There's no shotguns, there's no sniper rifles, there's no nomad, there's no nothing. So it's just like, all right, I want to...
Do you know what I found terrible?
What'd you find terrible?
The fact that I kept comparing it to Knights of the Old Republic. I liked Knights of the Old Republic more.
Honestly, I think the biggest problem with Andromeda, beyond, like, the things we've kind of pointed out, is really just the fact that it has predecessors that were so loved. And...
Well, I was concerned about the characters in Knights of the Old Republic, and you got to meet them under, you know, intriguing circumstances.
Yeah, kind of rushed this one.
And this,
you're
like,
trapped
tackles
with the
you and is like,
circumstance where everyone has to come with you on a ship.
Oh, hey, let's go. And the Vetra, she just is like, oh, you're coming on my ship? Okay, I'll join you. And then
within the first
Jack
5 hours,
pops up,
we've
he's like,
met
"I'm not gonna deal with
every
you guys."
crew member, which I'm fairly certain that's not how Mass Effect 1 worked. Like,
yes,
you got...
it is how it works.
It is? Okay.
Yes.
It felt more paced
That was
out.
the one where that
yes,
happens.
In 2...
Actually, 1 and 3.
Yeah, in 2 you met some people like way late into the game.
Well, that the thing about 2, which makes it so weird, is that the entire game's campaign is structured around meeting party members and then gaining their loyalty. So you have one mission where you gain each party member, then a second mission where you make each party member loyal by closing off loose ends for the suicide mission for each one individually, and there are 12 of them. Which means, story-wise, that basically the game starts, you recruit 4 people and maybe do loyalty missions for all 4 of them, and also maybe the 2 DLC characters, so that's 12 missions of total of recruiting and making people happy. And then you do Horizon, which is like the midpoint of the game already, as far as story goes. Then a few missions, there's like Reaper IFF and a couple other things, then you go on the suicide mission. And then of course in the second half of the game, the other 4 crew members are also there, so... The game has like 24 story missions dedicated to your party members and like 5 story missions that are just story missions. So like the game's built around assembling a team like for a heist, basically.
I'm amazed that you remember the structure of that game just totally off the top of your head. But yeah,
well, I just played it
like a month ago.
What it was.
I just played it.
Did you just play it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I just played the entire trilogy on my channel, rushing for this game, which I
Yeah.
hope was worth it. But meanwhile, in Mass Effect 1. You get Kaden and Ashley on the first planet. That's the prologue mission. That's an hour long. Then you go to the Citadel and get the 3 other characters of your total of 6 characters. And then you can do 4 missions in any order, one of which is the Liara mission, which most people do first, especially if they know that it's the one where you get Liara. So then, immediately within a couple hours, you have every character.
I guess I just remember the introductions of Garrus and
Tali had pertinent information.
Yeah, she had pertinent
console.
information, but like, wasn't she being like hunted down by somebody as well?
There was a gang after
it's
her.
super interesting. It's just fast. It's definitely not.
Okay.
It definitely doesn't happen over the course of the game or anything. But it is good. It's interesting.
But what happens, for everybody else, the only person that's actually had like a kind of drawn out introduction is Drac, who is just like, "Oh, so you're the Pathfinder? Fuck you," and then he just walks off, and you're like, "Okay."
There's always one like that, though.
Yeah,
we'll see him later, probably.
But like everybody else, pretty much just gung ho joins you right off the bat.
Like, Shepard, would you like to fuck off?
I think PB doesn't like immediately join you, but that's because I haven't bothered to go back and recruit Shrekface. So. She's got
are you talking about your own character, or are you talking about...
Oh, no.
She's got, like, that weird Shrek, like, nose lines around the mouth thing, and every time I see her, it's just like, yep,
people have been comparing that
one
That's
just,
image.
what, like, vaguely Hungarian or something?
Man,
wow. What if we have Hungarian fans that are just like...
No, I'm just saying it's just that. It's not, like, noteworthy. It's just, like,
We've been to Hungary.
There's just some people with, like, slightly thicker faces, and they get, like, a nose V. It's really normal.
No, in this case, it's just like her general face and like expressions look kind of Shrek, like kind of like Shrek's, and since it's the closest analog, it's just like, well, I can't forget that now.
Yeah, although the image of Shrek face is super fake because they literally edit the face to look like Shrek.
Yeah,
and it's not just color; they restructure her face to make her look like Shrek.
People put them side by side though, without any alteration.
Nope. The side-by-side one is the recolored green one is literally, like, reshaped to be Shrek-shaped.
Well, I haven't seen that one.
You have.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were looking at it earlier.
No, I was looking at the one where there's Shrek on the right, and then her, like, as is from the game, left.
I'm Googling Shrek face, and every result is not... Every result sucks, or pisses me off, or both.
What?
I don't know. I don't want to talk about Shrek face anymore.
Okay. You know what? Why don't we switch topics? We've talked about Andromeda long enough.
Yeah, just for Andromeda, though,
we're going to talk about it.
I'm just going to say that...
Actually drop.
I'm just going to say...
Midnight.
I'm just going to say that I hope that this game turns out to be like a case of like getting a new Doctor in Doctor Who. Where 15 different differences all bug me, but then by the time I'm halfway through it, I'm like, no, this was actually pretty neat. I hope that happens. Because frankly, I want games to be good.
Well, so
Yeah.
The characters can be rectified if they just build them up.
honestly, just going
time.
further, like seeing as we didn't really talk about the positives, as far as I can tell, it's going to be that. It's not going to be the magic of 1 through 3, but it's definitely going to be like a solid, probably 7 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10, kind of depending where they go. It's not going to be like
Groundbreak or like game changing, you know.
Actually, I had one thing that came to mind gameplay wise that was both interesting and bugged me at the same time. Like, one, you get your character and you see the character screen. I'm like, that is the most complicated and extensive character building screen in any Mass Effect game. But at the same time, as far as I can tell, there's no button to open your power wheel like in every other game ever. So you can't like manually pause the game and click on the power you want to use and have access to all of them like you could in the first game.
Way that
it's
the
tab.
game worked.
It's there. You just don't have it yet.
When I pressed tab, it was guns.
Yeah,
Maybe
they're both there.
But even at that point, as far as I've heard, like, because I haven't been able to find it in the game's controls anywhere, and somebody else more or less confirmed that apparently you can't give squad commands as far as abilities go.
No, I don't think you can.
Which you literally do non-stop in the other 3 games, is you coordinate your powers together and do combos with them. But now you just have 2 squad members that you build a spec for, kind of, and then they just exist near you during combat, and that's it, which seems weird.
The way the power switching powers works is you get the ability to hot swap between like kind of classes, and each will have like different skills that you've set up. So you can't like be in one and have access to every power, but you can like swap between like one type versus the other. At least that's as far as I can tell. I think it gets deeper because even in the tutorial mission, Ryder Dad is pretty much doing it for you, kind of hinting that that's going to be what happens. Just have to unlock the ability to do so.
Yeah. One thing I hope is that there are more compelling villains. So far, you've just been introduced to a fan of alien. Hey.
I think my internet just cut out really badly.
No,
that's just said.
You guys are cutting out, but like literally muting. I don't know if Shell's so far away from the microphone that it's sound gating her or something.
Hello?
I don't know.
She's just what's that one guitarist bucketheading it right now?
Or Tom Morello.
For like the 2 fans of Buckethead out there, I hope you appreciate that sweet ass reference you just
I haven't heard
still
Jordan
happening?
for a while.
Is it okay?
It's done,
fine
yeah.
now. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You didn't confirm for us, so it's just like, should I like give
No, we
up?
wanted to make a continued Buckethead joke, an extended edition Buckethead joke. Please continue with your original point, though, Shell.
Can you get 5
Okay.
stars on
About
expert?
villains.
I'm just hoping that they introduce compelling villains, because so far we've just been introduced to a mook clan of aliens that are native to this galaxy, at least as far as we know. And whereas in the past games...
It's the Reapers 2! The Creepers.
Well, they also seem to have the whole thing of, there's even more ancient tech that they're trying to acquire, but clearly they aren't the ones that created it, so...
I'm just trying to picture, like, the precursors now.
Yeah, pretty much. I hope it's not like, these guys are after the alien tech again, it somehow has control over planets, blah, 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 what are we gonna do? Yeah, just... there needs to be a face and a personality to, like, make...
I don't know. I saw the face and it was adorable.
What? No. Like, in the original game, you had Saren, and Matriarch Benezia. So they were actually villains that you could, like, listen to their motivation. And sure, they had a bunch of minions that were either those undead husk horrors or the Geth and stuff, but there still was some kind of, like, presence behind it. So far, it's just been force that we can't really converse with.
Well, we're barely into the game.
Yeah.
Is Shell like leaning back or turning away from the microphone or anything?
Yeah, she is getting away from
the...
Because she's literally, we like lose her periodically sometimes.
Yeah. So Shell, you can't be too far away from these mics. These are not sensitive microphones comparatively.
Okay, I'll get closer. I'm sorry.
I trained her with
These
the Blue
microphones
Yeti.
are like you gotta see, therefore you suck. Insensitive microphones. Ask somebody.
Okay,
People who watch
so-
the video are like, what are they talking about? But for us, she literally cuts out instantaneously. Sometimes I'm like, what? Wait, what? Where are we going?
Sorry.
All right, so
Okay.
you wanted to change topics there?
Yeah, well, I was going to
Mr.
say
Wanderbots?
questions, unless we had something else.
We have many questions.
Okay,
Do we
many
have questions?
questions.
Many
Time?
questions.
All right.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have like
We have some questions from
like
last
9
week that we didn't get to.
Yeah.
That are. I heard some of them were good.
Yeah, Ladybird asks, what's the worst
Oh.
piece of advice someone's given you about your craft, gaming, art, or whatever?
I mean,
That's a
there's
good
some.
one.
I mean, there was somebody a while back, like a YouTuber, that was actually like kind of an expert. He's like, yeah, you should probably just go over and do like 3-minute videos, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
That would be channel
I see
suicide.
you've gained a following for this thing that you're doing. You should do something completely different.
yeah. And
They'll
then
love
I,
it.
like, I looked at their views at the time, and I was getting more than them, and I'm just like, I'm definitely not listening to you. I still do that. Like, ugh.
Yeah, I've done a lot of different disciplines over my life, so I've received bad advice in all of them. But here's one related to singing. So I had a old teacher that wasn't with them for very long, for a very good reason, who basically taught their students to like swallow their own tongues when they sang. So basically the idea was like you have to create space in your throat by literally like trying to jam your tongue down your own throat
Wait, how
as
does our
hard and
teachers-
deep as possible.
Our teachers always had us like actually like make sure that we created space in our mouth by like putting our tongue not forward, but
You're supposed
like
to put it at the tip of your bottom teeth. But
right. You create the hollowness. And,
this teacher, what he taught was you create the hollowness by like depressing down on your larynx with your tongue.
Does that make
as
people sound nasally?
hard as possible. No, it makes people sound like I can do it right now. I
Oh,
want to sound like this, basically. And if you watch my webcam,
Oh my
can't do
god,
that
where
for
can I
very
buy
long.
your single?
if you're watching my webcam, though, you could actually see like as I do that.
You
like,
can see his dreams
the
die.
actual effect of it. So that was the worst advice I had. And that's a really, really, really good way to give yourself what's called laryngeal warp. And that's where you have physically changed the shape of your larynx due to external like pressures and forces,
It's not a
Ouch.
sweet
which
dance.
is permanent.
I was hoping it was a sweet dance.
Nah, dude. So that's
Do-
the worst advice
do
I've
the
ever received
warp.
about. Yeah. Anyway,
All
so that's the worst advice I've ever received about singing specifically. I've received terrible advice about literally everything I've ever done, but that's one I can answer for you right there.
I'm just
I
trying
know
to
I've
think
had
of
somebody
mine.
say that you should only play 2 games at once and you should do 1 video per day.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow, so I should play 2 different games and alternate them once per day total so that I can finish Mass Effect or Inquisition over the course of like a year with one other game.
How long was your Inquisition playthrough?
Let's find out. I'll look up Witcher while we're at it too, because that's even longer. It wasn't
'Cause, like,
longer
if I
at
did that
first,
with
but then they
Scrap
made
Mechanic-
two freaking expansions.
If I did that with Scrap Mechanic, it would have taken me 2 years to get here.
Dragon Age Inquisition was 174 episodes. And
Yeah, so that would have
Dragon
taken you
and,
Christ.
exactly 1
and
year.
Witcher 3 was 197 episodes.
a little over a year.
To be
Yeah,
fair,
you would have.
Yeah. To be fair, the main playthrough of Witcher 3 was 120 episodes. But then I got the first expansion I got 21 episodes out of, and then the second expansion I got 56 episodes out of, and I'm technically not done with what I want to do in it.
Cyberpunk
Mm-hmm.
20
Those
whatever is
second
going to murder you.
The second expansion of Witcher 3 is bigger than almost RPGs I've played, let alone games. Holy shit. They CD Projekt Red like what they do.
Yeah, they do a good job.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing with Andromeda. CD Projekt Red exists.
Yeah, to show us
Yeah.
all the gaps and issues that
Yeah.
come up from that.
Bill, what's the worst
Witcher
piece of
3
advice you've
is
ever
going to be the
received?
best RPG ever for so long.
Yeah.
If you're talking about like
Plot
cutscene
side quests.
and dialogue systems and side quest depth, maybe not combat systems, but still.
No, I hated the combat. That's why I stopped playing.
The combat's the one part where it's like, oh, this isn't the amazing part. But like watching Geralt and like Yennefer interact for 10 minutes, or like I walked into a random town that wasn't even on the map, and I got arrested immediately, being mistaken for someone else, and got stuck in an entire segment in jail without even accepting a quest, technically, where I had to do this, where that was like this whole quest chain situation as a result of just walking into town, and it wasn't part of the quest, and it was far away from any story elements, and I just wandered through and encountered that. Like that's some cool side content. And Inquisition was like, I'm a guy who needs some rocks. Would you get me some rocks? Then you get him the rocks. So I'm like, I got him the rocks. You got 5 power. Thanks, I got power. I have 3 times how much I need to beat the game, but thanks for the power. Yay.
All right, Chill, you got a good answer for the question?
So mine's an interesting one. Unfortunately, I'm trying to think of like things in the bounds of art. And unfortunately with art, because technique and everything varies from artist to artist to artist, you can't really say, hey, don't do this instead. Like there are some conventional techniques for things, and like color theory and whatnot that people follow, but you have people breaking the rules all the time and making something of it that becomes them. So it's a little bit difficult. I remember I had a ton of teachers saying, don't blend your graphite, it'll make everything smudgy. And I'm like, but I actually use that as part of my technique, and I erase away to make my highlights and it looks awesome, that kind of thing. But I think, I don't know if it was because our program had a lot of instructors that were so staunchly traditional media that they didn't perceive digital media as art, even though we were still creating 2D imagery.
Hell, if you want
to
get into an argument with somebody, all you have to do is just say, like, check out this cool digital painting I found. Guaranteed, you're gonna get somebody.
Right. So I remember we were doing a class, and I really enjoyed our classes with this teacher because he was one of the few teachers that actually allowed us to like use fantasy art. I mean, that was his thing. Unfortunately, though, he was just staunchly oils. Like, oils were the only thing you could use to make professional artwork and whatever.
Like, this guy's published in Spectrum pretty much every year for frame of reference. So, like, he's got the cred, unfortunately.
Right. So, the majority of the class, we had to pick up our oil paints, we had to pick up our large canvases and everything. And I had made, a really nice pencil sketch of my ideas, and the class sort of voted on which one they wanted me to pursue. So I went about doing it. But I was like, oils are just so time intensive, and you can't, it smears around. You have to let it dry between periods of use. It's not like
and
acrylics.
If you're me, it makes you basically want to die the entire time you're using it because you have such a headache.
Well, right. It's also toxic stuff. Toxic.
God, I spent an entire semester taking an oil painting class, and I basically didn't realize that I was signing up to have a headache for an entire semester.
And when we actually learned acrylics, the studio for the acrylic class was moved to the basement. Without much for ventilation at all. I'm glad that
it could have been a lot worse if you'd done oils in the basement.
Right. So I've sealed away all my oil paints, and I don't know if I'll ever pick them up again. You have titanium, you have cadmium, you have cobalt, you have all that stuff, and like linseed oil, and in any case, very messy substance. I was trying my best to get little details in, but it was funny because at the end of class, like at the end of our coursework for the year, we didn't get a piece out. Everyone had half pieces because they were working in oils. And then there was this one kid who happened to be a graphic designer, and I don't know what he had said, but he's like, I shouldn't work in traditional media, it's all right if I do digital. And our teacher had given him a pass to digital. So he comes in, his piece is beautiful, nicely detailed, whatever. And I had actually on the side made my piece digital. And at the time I was only using a bamboo, so it was I can do a lot better now. But it was so much crisper, cleaner, actually detailed and defined. You could actually tell what was going on. Whereas the oils, I had just been struggling with it. And it was funny because I was painting this sometimes while I was waiting for my paint to dry. And I remember my teacher coming over and he's like, "What's that?" And I go, "Oh, I'm planning for this to be what I want, this particular part of my piece to be when I get around to painting it because it's still drying." And so he had scoffed at it.
Off or something?
And the funny thing was, at the very end of our senior year art show thing, we had to submit 3 pieces that we wanted to be put in a gallery. And all of mine were digital. That was one of them. The digital piece that I had done of that oil painting, I submitted, and it was accepted. So, and the painted piece, the original oil one, first off, never went back to it because no way was I painting oils in my house again. Secondly, so massive and the character's so small on it that my parents were like, "What are you going to do with it?" I'm like, I'm throw it out. And I did, and it was upsetting because
I was able to make such detailed stuff using graphite or charcoal, and then when it came time to work with oil, I was like, I have absolutely no ability to make this look good at all. I don't know what the difference was, but I guess that there's so much technique with how you use brushes that without that it's really hard to get something done with it.
Right, and I all my life I essentially self-taught with pencils. So I just found that working with materials that I suppose I just don't like paint. I can do acrylic paint because it dries swiftly enough that you don't have to worry about the drying times, and unfortunately it lacks the vibrancy and the blending options that you have with oil. But at the same time, you don't have to worry about trying to make a stark edge.
Right, yeah.
Because the oil mixes right in.
Yeah.
Oil would be good for slowly rendering things up dark to light. But me, I tend to work in a way where I work in my lights and my shadows, and then I define things with edges. I don't want to say that I have a blocky design when it comes to certain line work, but I prefer zones of color that blend into each other rather than working in blotches of color. It's there, as I said, there are different techniques for different people, different mediums for different people. But I found that a lot of the kids in our program wanting to be concept artists were interested in working in the digital medium because that was what was a standard. And we were just told flat out not to. Wasted so much money and time on other mediums. And I understand that it's good to have a basis in those, especially in drawing, because sketches, drawings, you can always use those by scanning them in over them. But I would have just rather have had the freedom and progress with what it's like becoming a master of all trade. Well, okay, what is it? What's
Jack
the phrase?
of all
Jack
trades,
of all trades, master of none. I felt like we were spreading ourselves so thin, and it would have been better to progress with something that we know that we would enjoy in our future careers rather than experimenting with a ton of things. We had paper crafting. That was interesting.
Oh yeah, I remember in our art program there was the basic Art 100, which is literally arts and crafts class.
But we had to create layered dimensional illustrations with cutout paper.
Yeesh.
Fortunately, our teacher did allow us to do sculptures, so I was able to make a couple busts and character statuettes for my aliens and stuff. So that was good. But that wasn't the type of illustration that I was interested in doing. So I don't know. So I don't want to say it's bad advice, but it's more of
it was bad advice, education.
It was bad enough advice that you're bringing it up as the worst advice you've ever gotten.
Well, at least when it comes to art. Also, some people had techniques where they threw photographs together.
Photo bashing? Oh.
Yeah, so he would take a lot of like reference photos and like
Paint over
match
them.
the lighting.
And I can understand
of.
using reference if you don't
And
know
then he'd
the
paint over them.
precise intricacies
Yeah,
of a lily
Yep,
pad.
that's called.
But like
Look
it
up
was
the lily
super
pads.
obvious whenever you saw any of his pieces. Like you are so constrained with like your inability to paint anything else that is the extent of what you can do. Yeah.
It's immediately obvious to tell when someone's photo bashing. Honestly.
Yep.
But,
Do we have
all right,
another question?
So that question.
Well, what about your
alienated
bad?
Keith.
I went
Wander
first.
already
I was
did.
fast.
Oh.
Yeah.
I started slowly picking up every Witcher book that I have next to me and holding them in front of the camera.
Okay.
I was like, I have
Converted
no
it.
excuse to ever show these, so here's an excuse.
All right. So next question. There.
Did you know there was
Mr.
7?
Alfonso Koob.
There's so many. Nick Pearson asks, so what character did you hate at the start of a game but ended up liking in a very long RPG, and why? I had to
Can I answer which character I hated that I was supposed to learn to like, but then still hated? Was Pritchard from Mass Effect.
Was who?
Mass Effect, Deus Ex. Pritchard.
Oh. Pritchard.
Yeah. It was like, oh, they're supposed to become friends. It's like, no, he's still a dick. I hate him still. Don't make me friends with him. I don't want to be friends with him.
Wait, what was the question again?
This is a situation that's going to require some
Character
stealth,
that you
Jensen.
hated in the beginning but grew to love.
Oh.
Morgan?
About this.
Because
Yeah, I
Morgan's
don't
just
actually
a
know.
bitch. At the beginning of the game, especially.
Uh-huh.
I mean, my go-to examples for characters you spend a long time with that you likely have an abrasive interaction with early on, but you're actually supposed to figure out how they work eventually, are like Morgan from Mass Effect 1, Dragon Age Origins, and Sarah from Dragon Age Inquisition. Like, you learn about the
Bird
characters over time,
from
and you
real
learn
life.
them better. But a lot of characters, if you don't like them at the beginning, there's not a lot of reason that your opinion is going to change.
Well, the other problem with BioWare games is you don't like the character, you don't bring them along, you don't learn to love them anyway. Because,
true.
they're
That's
just
true.
shoved in the ship closet forever.
And if you're not a
Yeah.
completionist, you might not even talk to them at town.
Yeah.
That was one
That
of the
was
things
me.
I found fascinating, is that some games take that behavior so for granted. Because I played Bound by Flame, and there was one character where I was like, ew, go away. So I just didn't talk to her for the entire game, and never did her side quest, and never took her anywhere, and just pretended she didn't exist. And at the end of the game, she's like, how could you betray me after all we've done together? And I'm like, I've never talked to you before. Who are you? Because the game doesn't account for like the idea that you wouldn't
That game
like constantly
was
talk to everybody.
so
Jeez,
funky.
dude, that's like a Pro CD video. Oh, man. God, that's a... I don't know. I can't come up with a real answer for that.
Well,
It's not
can
easy
this also
to find
encompass
examples.
movies and other
Okay.
things?
Okay, here's a weird one. So Ashley, in Mass
Mass
Effect
Effect?
1. Yeah, so I've played Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, but I never could carry over my save files because they were on completely different computers, and I was
Right.
in wildly different geographical locations every single time.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mhm.
So I played Mass Effect 1 and killed off Ashley because I didn't like her. And I guess I just kept Caden because I didn't have any
The choice
feeling
was
one way or
boring
another.
or person he didn't like, so...
Yeah, exactly.
For a lot of
So-
people, the choice is, do I kill off the character who seems kind of racist, or do I kill off the character because the other one's sexy?
Yeah.
Basically,
So I killed her off, but when we played Mass Effect 3 a couple years ago, we had downloaded a save file and Ashley was still alive. And
Yeah.
so, actually, no, in Mass Effect 2, you run into Ashley again because I downloaded another save file, and of course, Ashley's alive. And I'm like, no, you're back from the dead, and you hate me, and I hate you even more. Because, like, you've not gotten better as a character. Because she's barely in Mass Effect 2. She's not part of your crew. You just see her once where she's just like, how could you be with Cerberus? And we're like, but they're doing, like, the good thing, I guess.
yeah. Literally, the only interaction with Caden or Ashley from Mass Effect 1 is just them being bothered by
Yeah.
your new friends and then leaving.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And so then I finally play Mass Effect 3, and she's alive, and she's got this, like, really sympathetic quest line that, honestly, I don't remember. I just remember her being, like, actually kind of a halfway decent person. I think part of it is she was, like, going to be your successor as, like, the next human Spectre or something like that. And, like, some other things. I was like, all right, well, if I ever play Mass Effect 1 again, Caden's going to die, I guess. Does that count?
It kind of,
Wait,
yeah.
Did
Ashley's
Ashley
actually
get
not.
prettier as the series went along?
Yes, she
What the
did.
hell?
Much prettier.
It was good. What?
It got-
Wait, what?
It was
Hold
actually kind
on.
of.
Yeah.
It was actually
Hold on.
weird.
This is actually kind of pissing me off that I'm looking at it.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I
like-
actually don't like the redesigns of Ashley Williams because I was like,
What
no,
is
what?
this?
I'm like, what happened to your hair? You shouldn't
Okay.
look like that.
So this is Ashley in the first game, and then like this is what she ends up looking. What the hell?
Ashley
What is
Williams.
this?
Ashley Williams in the first game has. She might have pink lipstick, or it might just be her lip color, and she has some eyeshadow, but her hair's tied back in a bun, and that's all there is to it. By the third game, she has like flowing locks and pink cheeks and like bluish black eyes, and I'm like,
that's what happens
it's-
to
it's
damn
super weird.
sitcom characters. They get prettier.
and she's got
over
like a
the
deep
years,
V
but-
on her new uniform instead of being in like a straight up marine cut clothes or t-shirts like she was in the first game, and I'm like, that's weird.
It's
Because like
really
the whole
weird.
like the whole premise of when I made my shepherd is like, no, they're N7, they're top level military. Like her hair's going to be tied back, and she's not going to wear any makeup, and she's going to be a little stern looking, and she's going to go kick some
Yeah.
ass for 3 games.
And that's what she looked like in the first game.
Yeah, my character looked vaguely similar to Ashley, except being clearly a different human being. But then, yeah, Ashley gets weirder
The fuck's
looking
up
over
with
as
her
the trilogy
lips?
goes on, where they try to make her like sex up. But it's weird too because her hair glitches out, which is the whole reason why they don't give anyone long hair in Bioware games, because it does weird things.
Yeah.
Her
I couldn't
boobs get
tell if that
bigger,
was like
too,
an
which is
EA
kinda
thing or
weird.
what. Ashley does weird things over the trilogy, but some people learn to like her better because they learn. When you first meet Ashley, you don't have a lot of context for the universe you're in, and if you're not paying super close attention, when she says vaguely racist things, it's like, what is like the default reaction?
Yeah,
'Cause
they
she seems-
they never really preface the contact war particularly well.
Yeah, she doesn't. Her racism.
Yeah, she comes across as like a weird space bigot.
Yeah, but then you realize that like then you hear Anderson saying he fought in the first Contact War. I'm like, Anderson literally fought in the war where humans met aliens. That's how new this is. So somebody being so in the lifetime of meeting aliens, it's super normal for a bunch of humans to think that in a time of crisis, the aliens might not be out to help the humans and might go defend themselves. Like Ashley's metaphor is like it's like, what is it? Like if you're like if you get attacked by a bear, you sacrifice your dog because like it makes you sad, but that's the realism of that's the reality of the situation. And she thinks that the aliens are going to do that, which is exactly what happens in the third game, where nobody will help Earth because they're all dealing with their own planets and their own crises and don't care about anyone else. So she's not so the game even proves her right. And she has super reasonable reasons to be not even racist, but like vaguely suspicious that the aliens won't be always on their side, which is also the entirety of human history, is every single nation that isn't ours maybe not always being on our side, literally within our lifetimes. So
All right. So what was the question again? Oh yeah,
Characters
Wander.
that you grew to like,
Yeah.
that you started by hating.
Yeah, actually, I guess she is a very good answer to that question. Then that makes sense.
Yeah.
But this doesn't. It's not. It's video games, right? I can choose a television show or movie, right?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Good.
Okay. Because
Executive decision.
I'm trying to think over things, and
Here, do we want to come back to what you think?
Because
No,
to give
I
the
have an
example,
answer.
the actual
Okay.
question literally
Okay.
says not only video games but long RPG, but I don't think
I
that's
just
really
know the
important.
last answer was super long. So, go.
But
sorry.
it was worth
Go, go, go.
discussing. It was
Yeah, yeah.
interesting.
Okay. I was gonna say Bastila from KOTOR, but now I'm thinking about someone that I really disliked. Like Bastila was annoying, but I knew that she had a soft spot. But someone that I really disliked that I grew to like. Lately, I've been watching Downton Abbey. I didn't know I'd be so engrossed in a series of that nature.
Oh, you should talk to my mom and my aunt and my grandma.
And my mom.
Oh, just
What does that
just
mean?
like the internal like strife and politics and stuff of that era of England.
It's a body tale where they're defying. Anyway.
It's interesting, and they have been dealing a lot with class. That's been something that's been brought up a lot lately. I think I'm on the 4th season or something, where there's like the lines between like the families that are well-to-do and their servants and stuff are starting to mingle. Like class distinctions are starting to go to the wayside. It's interesting. So for those of you that aren't familiar with it, it's about this.
No, Shell, just give us...
Okay, there are 3 daughters, and the middle daughter is named Edith, and there's nothing redeeming about her. The eldest daughter is like refined and educated and like the most down to earth. The youngest is a dreamer and is involved with like all the new advancements with women's rights and like workers' rights and other things like that. But the middle child, Edith is always snubbing the successes of her sisters and envies them constantly, whether it be like who they're pursuing to marry or what activities they're partaking in. It seems like they're always excelling and she never can. And because of this, she actually does some pretty cruel things despite them or try to foil them. And partway through the series, she starts getting involved with writing and literature, and her parents obviously put her down because they never expect anything of her. And she meets an editor, and they fall in love and stuff, and she actually starts like breaking out of her shell and doing things that she wouldn't, but at the same time, they're also somewhat foolish. And she gets pregnant out of wedlock, and her husband-to-be ends up dying.
No.
Right. So her aunt actually is in on this and takes her out of the country so she can have this baby. And she gives the baby to some people that are working the land. Like, you know how they sort of like lease their land out to farmers and stuff. So she can still visit this child. But throughout this whole ordeal, she's become a more compassionate character. And she's also starting to understand, you know, the strife of these people and it's interesting. So I've slowly grown to like her more.
Yeah, I have an answer. Cruella de Vil.
What?
Yeah, I totally didn't like her, but then I realized by the end of the movie that, you know, maybe dogs should be turned into clothing.
All right, Satan.
Thanks, Satan. Thanks for coming by.
Says,
we always appreciate it.
Somebody in my chat
animated
says,
Cruella de Vil or Glenn Close Cruella de Vil?
hell, all of them.
Really?
Every incarnation of... In the first movie, I was like, I don't like Cruella de Vil. By the end of it, I was totally on board with her dog agenda.
The secret is to pull a B movie where you take every version of Cruella de Vil in their movies and you play them simultaneously and stretch them to all be the same length.
Yeah, and then the direct-to-DVD sequel, like 103 Dalmatians or whatever. I was like, that's when I was like, I went into that movie and I was like,
that series taught
I want
people
to
an
see
important
Cruella
lesson.
de Vil win.
It taught them
What was
math.
the lesson?
It was teaching children math 1 year at a time.
You suck.
One cash in at a time.
Beard, Bird, did you watch? Oh, what was it? Home Alone, rooting for the two robbers.
I mean, it's fun too.
It is fun too. I
mean,
almost felt bad for them.
technically, you spend a lot of Willy Wonka watching, like, rooting for the bad guy.
That's true. It's true.
But if we're talking about this in the question in the context of shows, like a really weird case is actually Breaking Bad is a show where over the course of it, almost every single character when either at the beginning of the show or when they're introduced versus when the show ends or when the character dies, there's almost every character has an inversion of whether or not you like them or not over the course of that. Where every single character that's irritating or annoying or seems like a problem or you don't like for one reason or another becomes really sympathetic. And maybe even like the primary thing you're rooting for by the end of the game, at the end of the show, or the opposite happens where like a character that your favorite characters or characters you find amusing at the very least, or something like that will be like, they will just seem despicable by the end of the show, or like a complete twist will happen around that. And like that seemed to almost be like one of the primary dramatic forces of the show was to invert every single character during its runtime.
Yeah, but then there's all the people that miss the point.
Yeah,
like, yeah, Skyler's a bitch.
Yeah, and those people worry me.
Yeah,
I get worried by people who watch the whole show and they're like still rooting for Walter and not for
like,
against Skyler.
Sucks that he lost. Like,
yeah. I really like the part where they ran away with the baby and she was crying in the driveway because her baby's gone now. Fuck Skyler. What? Really worry about people sometimes. I really worry. Next question.
Right. Yeah, next question.
Oh. What?
Is it a good one? It doesn't sound like a good one.
I'll just read this, and if somebody has a really interesting answer, they can answer it. Otherwise, we'll move on.
Is this another like speculative thing?
No, that's what I was gonna
It's not that person, but it's still one that's like not. It doesn't apply to us, but like just general. Like, have you heard of something before?
Okay.
Benjamin Meyer asks, "I have heard of weird jobs and doctorates, but what would you say is the weirdest job and weirdest doctorate you've heard of?" So if anyone has a really interesting example, they can say it. Otherwise, I'm gonna move on. Have you guys heard of really interestingly weird jobs or doctorates before?
I know a guy that got a PhD in Frisbee.
PhD.
Oh.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound
Apparently
real.
Wander has an answer.
That sounds literally not real.
So it's one of those colleges that's like super free form, so they don't have like classes.
So in other words, it's
sort of.
unaccredited.
It's like super like high.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say
I
like
believe that
high.
part.
Highbrow, but it's like so high class of a university that anybody that goes there pretty much ends up with a useless degree. And they're more like just they're taught like.
It sounds not
thinking.
Accredited.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it.
Like an expensive club.
Yeah, it was very expensive, but he went there for Frisbee, and now he designs like more or less really high tech wheelchairs. So, I mean, he succeeded, but
All right.
yeah.
So, like many people, he's not using his major.
No, he still uses his major. There's a lot of photos of him playing frisbees. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
Galaron Gaming asks, "Old tech, anything you wish could come back in today's time?"
Old tech?
Old tech.
No.
Like computers or like...
Clocks.
Yeah, like what? Yeah, why would
ancient clocks.
Yeah, why would old tech ever be better? Really?
I mean, I do kind of miss the
I
days
guess mechanical
when
clocks are kind of cool.
Well, yeah, with the ones with the spinning discs that show day and night.
Mechanical clocks aren't gone though.
yeah, you could buy them. You just don't.
No,
They're
but like
still
the
there.
fancy ornate
Yes,
ones.
you
Yeah.
can buy those, but you
Those
don't.
are called specialty shops. People make their living making novelty clocks.
yeah.
Okay, fine. What other kind
We live
of,
in the
like,
day
old
where
tech?
vinyl's rising in popularity.
Oh yeah, I'm glad that.
Actually, books are beating out like e-readers now too.
Yeah, because there's book feel is a
Yeah.
thing
I like
that readers have to figure out how to
tangible
compete
books.
with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm trying to think of.
Sundials? Yeah, I guess there aren't very many of those.
I'm trying to think of
Because
really
they're a huge
mundane
hassle.
old tech.
They only work 12 hours out of the day.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Or
So-
when it's not cloudy.
One.
Leeches?
Wait, so-
Can we bring back leeches? I don't know.
I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, this question baffles me. Can we move on?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I should skip several questions.
Well, you can at least ask them.
Let's see. What was the first ever video game you remember playing? Did we answer that already? I think we did, right?
I think we
Wait,
did.
the first video
Yeah.
game remember playing?
Yeah,
I'm
we
pretty
did.
sure we
Yeah.
answered that one already.
Yeah, I remember that one.
What are the origins
good
of your
question.
handles
Sorry.
/ usernames?
Origins
Wait.
of handle / usernames? That's a good one, I
I
guess.
feel like if we ever said that, it was a long time ago, or specifically not on the podcast.
It was not on the podcast, no.
It was from the Hooded Teddy.
Okay. I mean, I've had a couple,
Mm-hmm.
but
Also, he didn't give us an answer.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
I'm just-
that's not fair.
I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just
imagining a teddy bear
assuming that
with
it's
a
a teddy
hood.
bear that's uncircumcised.
Oh, come on.
Not that kind of hood. Also, I don't think it's called a hood on guys.
Half of my interactions
I
are
think it's
just
only
to
on
make
girls.
Shell
Let-
squirm.
Oh, it could be.
Fine.
Let's not get
Oh,
into
we
this.
in the hood.
Okay,
Please
I'll
stop.
start. So, mine's super easy. If you've ever seen me play a game, there's where the Wander's from, and bot is because robots are cool. Done.
And the S at the end was just because someone else had already taken
Yeah, some
Wonderbot.
Russian dude had the channel for like his soccer animations like
2 videos.
a decade ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we had started it together, so we figured plural was okay as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what your current handle is, Shell. Like, I don't know which one. Yeah, because I've seen like 4 associated with you.
My ancient one is Shelly Moon.
Keeper of Ages? Oh.
But that, yeah. So Shelly Moon is for like my email, a lot of my gaming accounts. Like, I'm Shelly Moon on Steam. Except that's not my actual username. I think you choose like a name that's separate from your username or something.
Yeah.
In any case, that's just because my name is Michelle and I love the moon. So, Shelly Moon.
The end.
But as for Keeper of Ages, it was interesting. So in our business and marketing class, we had to figure out, hey, what do you want to brand yourself as? Are you going to use your real name? Are you going to use something else? And unfortunately, my last name is sort of bizarre. I have it everywhere, so should I say it?
What?
It's literally on your Twitter.
It says on my Twitter and everywhere else, because I am an artist. So
Listen, she's descended of Muppets. And I saw your dad in Christmas Carol. He was great.
I don't get it.
Oh, yes, he got to play
I don't actually know her last name.
Yeah.
What is her last name?
He was
It's
an
the
awesome.
Blue Muppet.
Gonzo.
Oh, right. All right.
It's Italian, okay? It's Italian. I actually had an employer once ask me if it was, like, at all Hispanic, and I was like, no, it's Italian.
Huh.
But I think it's because there's, like, a whole, like, Gonzaga region. Also, the peninsulas are close enough together.
Encountering your name was a surprise for me, because I thought it was just a made-up word that they used in the Muppets.
No.
Now I'm wondering if Kermit is a real name.
In Italian, it has several meanings. It can mean fool or goose.
Huh.
So, I'm trying to think of like what my father's side of the family back in northern Italy, what they were up to. I know that some of them were smugglers, hungry. That was interesting.
Geese?
I don't believe they smuggled geese. I don't know what they smuggled, but yeah, that's interesting.
Ryan Goslings.
Okay,
Could be worse.
So I was thinking about it, and I'm going, on pretty much every social media account, someone else had already taken my name, even though technically I'm the only person with my name according to the white pages and other things. I think either they're like Michelle Gonzalez's or people that just like Gonzo. Gonzo's means crazy now, with Gonzo journalism and Gonzo media and Gonzo everything else. So unfortunately, a lot of people had already taken my name everywhere. And I could always have done like the Michelle Gonzo art, Michelle Gonzo illustration, and I'm just like, no. And I noticed that a lot of people had funky handles that they had on DeviantArt and other things, and I still come to grips with, like, I'm still struggle with this because I want something that includes my name, so something with Shell in it would be fine. I really should. I've even thought of bringing up Shelly Moon again, but like differently. The problem is a lot of people have already taken that as well. And once again, they're dead accounts on YouTube and stuff, so I'm a little mad about that. But so I had actually written a number of like short stories.
You know what you have to do, right?
Huh?
You have to find those users and you have to kill them so they're dead as their accounts are, and you have to take their ears as tribute to prove it to the YouTube gods that you've finished the task. And then you can have your account name.
Yeah, I am upset that like old accounts can't be, like, the names can't be released and such, because that would be such a godsend for a lot of people. But unfortunately, a lot of sites like DeviantArt, even if someone changes their name 5 times, all their previous names that they had claimed get put into the never again bin forever.
Because they forward for them or something?
Huh?
Don't they forward? Don't those usernames get like forward to the new one?
Yeah, it's interesting. So like if old keywords went to it, then yeah, it goes back. So in any case, yeah, I was trying to think of something, and I had actually titled one of these old stories The Keeper of Ages, and it was about this very, very lonely golem who was the last of his kind, and he was tasked with taking care of an archive in a ruined city, inhabited by all these new peoples and races and such, and they just always come and defer to him for information. about the old times and whatever. And he was very lonely and also was like massive, 11 feet tall, had like 6 glowing eyes, serpentine lower half of his body. Pretty cool. His name was Umber. But my whole like short story part of that was the Keeper of Ages. And I thought, oh, you know, that's just, I always love libraries and such. So, oh, it's neat. You know, the Keeper of Tales, the Keeper of Stories, the Keeper. The Ages part actually, in part, derives from Myst. You guys know how I'm such a crazy Myst fan. And in that, the worlds, once again, you access them via books.
Love answers.
Sorry. And, well, that's because names have meanings. And those worlds are called ages, as opposed to worlds, realms, such. So, you know, being a keeper of ages, too. Well, also, I am working it as one of the titles of one of the main protagonists in a someday webcomic series I hope to start. I've already made a lot of art of this alien being Zaxion, or Xeon, depending on by his, like, original Vesh name. But he comes from a long line of keepers, so...
Okay, I have to bring us back to a previous question as to bad advice. Somebody in my YouTube chat is being like, you get more viewers if you play FPS games, just over.
Just taking you to a completely different
Overwatch.
place.
Yeah.
Why don't you play Overwatch?
So yeah, that's my... So now I am Keeper of Ages, the art of Michelle Gonzo, or art by Michelle Gonzo, whichever. So, yeah.
So the origin of my name is I went with blue because it's my favorite color, and I went with commando because that was a really cool word when I was like 7. So that's why my very first online handle was Blue Commando.
We mean your current one, man.
I was really confused.
What song is that from?
I know. No, it's not that. I literally, when I was like 7 or 8, and I was like, I like the internet. I want to go to CartoonNetwork.com and like download my Scooby Doo's. Oh, I make an account. Okay, I'm gonna be Blue Commando.
So real young.
Pitched voice. Yeah,
I've got a similarly bad
wants
reason
no
for
one
my
gives a
young
crap
name
my current
happening.
Name is so I figured I'd go with that one because it was interesting. Weird.
I've actually got a worse one for why my youngest name happened. So I had to make my first ever account ever for Age of Empires 2, The Age of Kings, to play it online. And I'd never played anything online or registered for anything online. So I didn't even fully understand the difference between a username and a password. Mm-hmm. So my username was E5G3 on Age of Empires 2.
Your username was it what?
It was what I mixed up username and password as a little kid. So what was supposed to be a password of letters and numbers was my username. So my username was E5G3, which I somehow still remember for some reason. So that was weird. But I only played it because I only played the game once because I was literally like making my starting base still, and people from the Imperial Age came in with a horde of cavalries and steamrolled me. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't like what get it is playing every RTS ever. It's like I made my second farm. Oh god, the spaceships are here. They killed
Their
me.
castles can fly somehow. How'd they do it?
I remember trying to play Age of Empires 2 with Spider, the HD re-release. Yeah, he did that.
Why did he do that?
You need to learn to stop playing games with Spider. Literally every single time Spider invites anybody to play anything competitive, it's because he's super good at it and just wants to crush you without effort.
Yeah, he had bought it for me, so I was like, all right.
I learned that.
And then he crushed me, and I was like, well, thanks.
I learned that part about playing with Spider basically instantly. And that was actually the last time we ever spoke.
Oh. See, the trick was to force him to play Dark Souls. Where he was just useless.
That was
going to
torture.
say, didn't that make your series like basically
we got
death?
We got this whatever big Soul Cup thing that you're supposed to get, the MacGuffin, before you kind of like move towards the end of the game.
We were almost ready to go to Drainlight Castle.
Yeah,
almost.
Well, so you're talking about Dark Souls 2 with him. I'm talking about Dark Souls 1 with him.
The thing that was part of my human experience.
True. I'm
not talking about your little, as far as I can tell, never uploaded completely secret to everyone except for those involved. Dark Souls 1 attempted to play it through.
Yeah. Let's see. Got another question?
So Birdcatcher, your username's for a song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
it's
somebody
named
found
after...
that in chat or something, right?
Wait, what song?
Yes, I'm named after the character Papageno from the opera The Magic Flute by Mozart.
Oh, okay.
He is the Vogelfänger, which is German for the birdcatcher, and I like that phrase because it's weird. And it sounds like it sounds like English, but somebody screwed it up.
What's the word again? Vogelfinger?
Vogelfänger.
Vogelfänger. Okay, Vogelfänger.
Mm-hmm.
And then my username is just because it's actually also German origin, in that I took a German class, and part of the gimmick for getting people to remember pronunciation and practice it better was to give every single person in the entire class a name in German, like a common German name, and everyone would address each other by those names during that class instead.
Mine was Esperanza.
So I had Sebastian.
Spanish.
And then one day...
Esperanza Canso.
So when the 360 came out, I figured it was time to graduate from my previous username, which was Shaman King, because
Woo, Shaman King.
So I had the name because I played as a shaman in Dark Souls 2. Diablo 2.
Not because you like Shaman King.
No, and that's why I changed it, was because people started singing this theme song to me that was really irritating, because it's some like early 4Kids shitty anime theme song for English people. And people would just start singing that over like Halo 2, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're doing. Stop it. So I changed it to I tried to change it to my German name from my German class at the time, because that's when I was taking it, is when the 360 came out. I was like in the second year of that. But then of course that name's taken, so I started adding bullshit to it to try to get it to go through, and giving it successfully less thought with each additional attempt. So eventually I was like, I don't know, SB would be like my initials if my first name was German, and because normally it's KB. I'm like, and I did like Sebastian SB, and then it went through, and I guess this is my name now.
Yeah, I guess it does.
And then just for the sake of consistency, I just use it absolutely everywhere. Because having different URLs for everything is a pain.
Oh, I know. That's why I liked my funky Curve Ages user. Someone else has it. At the same time, I feel so bad because when everything goes lowercase and is squished together, it has a bad word.
Is it?
Bag.
Oh.
Don't say it out loud. So I think I actually had a couple of...
What do you have against phages?
Well, okay, phages. But I thought phages was PHAGES.
You're already putting more thought into it than I did.
Next question.
Let's see, I'm skipping a lot of these.
Okay.
Dario asks, is there any country you really want to go to, just for a vacation or because you want to know the culture? By the way, I'm from Argentina.
Hi, Argentina. Hi. What was the name?
Dario?
Dario.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening.
The answer for both Shell and myself is Thailand, but too much civil unrest means no.
Oh yeah,
I'm
that
just
was
honored to get a
wasn't
message
it?
from Dario Naharis.
Why?
He's from Game of Thrones.
Oh.
I really thought things were going to keep going, and then it got really quiet. Like,
Wait, so what's your country?
I literally got more pause than Shell did while singing.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I wanted you to kind of stew in that one for a little bit. Anyway, yeah, which country would I visit? I don't know. That's a really good question. Yes, probably the United Kingdom or Canada. I've been to a lot of places already. But I've never been to a whole lot of places like in the Anglosphere. So I kind of want to check out like outside of just the US, you know? But no, I've never been to Canada.
Really?
Nope,
Well, I
went to a
suppose I
Canadian
lived in
airport.
New York. So
Yeah.
you go to Toronto and Montreal and stuff on a yearly
Yeah,
basis.
I felt like if I could go up to the Coubs, it would just take like 2 hours? So To probably do it, and then what I could do is I can try some fried beaver tail, and
Poor beavers.
beaver
Wow.
tail.
Obscure
Wait,
references to
so
private
gross.
chat within Discord.
Yeah, I'm making
I thought
references
you
to
were
inside
vegetarian.
jokes.
How could you have beaver tail?
So the fried beaver
Well,
tail thing is not an inside joke that's like hidden.
But we give
Nonstop
Effie
make
and
fun
Durf
of-
about it.
Yeah, anytime we know a Canadian, we give him shit about it.
But
Yeah, and
is it
besides, you
something
can't.
they eat?
Eating a beaver tail doesn't violate vegetarianism any more than eating like a rock or a stick of wood. You know?
Wait. You guys are messing with me again, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, beaver tails. I'm serious though. They are apparently edible, but you could fool me because I looked at photos of cooked beaver tail.
Yeah, this is
It
a...
looks
Wait,
like
but that's a
somebody took out an
pastry.
oven mitt and dropped it
Beaver
on
tail.
the grill.
Yeah,
Pastry.
it looks like a mistake. Like, oh shit, how'd this end up on the grill?
Oh no!
Let's just scrape it off.
Oh no! My son's art project.
Yeah, I would probably want to see.
Yes.
I think you already answered.
Yeah,
Thailand
we
were
said
you-
first.
Thailand, but civil
Were you
unrest.
talking that whole time or not?
Yeah. Was that? Were you
Well, that
answering?
was just in response to the question.
I was responding to the question.
No,
No,
we couldn't
just
hear
heard
any of it.
nothingness. Yeah.
Oh,
I think-
Oh, sorry.
Wander, you just did a wipe, right? And did you reinstall
wipe?
TeamSpeak and stuff?
Did
yeah.
You probably need to go
Yeah,
through some
Oh.
settings
Your
'cause
threshold's probably too
your
low.
threshold's
Are they
like just
too-
muting you
too high?
constantly whenever
You
Shell
know
talks.
what? That's a good point.
And it's probably your fault because I assume that she's speaking the way she always does.
Well, Shell has
I
this
do.
habit of like leaning back and away
No,
from the
Yeah,
no,
mic.
but this is a brand new problem like 30 episodes in.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway, so what was your answer, Shell? You should be able to just talk.
that everyone heard except for the two of us.
I know it's typical, but I would really like to see Japan.
That's,
Japanese food
Yeah.
is really good.
Well, also,
Part
a
of me
lot of
wants
my
to
friends
visit
have gone there
Japan.
for study abroads and such, and they say it's it's a very safe place. Everyone's really
Oh, yeah,
courteous.
yeah.
They have cat cafes and cosplay, and
I thought you were going to say they have cats. I was like, well, I guess probably a couple.
yeah. I mean, part of it is I'm absolutely afraid to go to areas of South America and Africa because of botflies and parasites and who knows what. I mean, they might have those in tropical Thailand.
I'm just not much of a traveler. You know,
Yeah.
I'd rather. I'm too cerebral. I'm like,
Yeah.
I could travel, or I could like
I do like
study
seeing
math
historical
for a week.
sites,
Like,
though.
that's a vacation for me.
I think
Historical sites and monuments. Are
I think
nice.
we're also like too homebody-ish due to our work. So like the idea of like travel is kind of scary.
For me, there's a certain element where the country is so big that I could change locations within my own country and feel like I'm in
and
a different
still
one.
see.
That's definitely a very American experience, though.
Because
True.
like,
Oh,
yeah, but like I've never been to New York. I don't know what New York's like at all, except for the fake movie version, which I probably combines
and then
to
you
a
can
vaguely
say that
accurate
about
thing.
literally every state.
Yeah,
I-
well, except a lot of them are real similar.
Looking
I
at
mean-
you, Illinois, Iowa.
Illinois,
Wisconsin.
Iowa,
I mean, within New York, there's
Illinois, Ohio, Iowa.
Please stop.
That was pretty close to the return to innocence.
Wander on Dark Souls video. The next time I Zweihander somebody, I'm gonna be like, Illinois, Iowa.
I thought it was like "Hi ma hi yeah, whatever it was.
It's
This
No,
is
you're getting that
some-
confused with when
Isn't
Goku
some-
launches his laser beam.
Wait, what? Goku?
Now I'm lost.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank
Wait,
Oh,
you.
what did
Kamehameha.
Goku do?
No, we're not talking about Hawaii right now.
Yeah, I mean, with
How
with
weird
New
is
York,
it that the name of that
there's
attack is a historical figure's name?
Yeah, that's pretty
Kamehameha?
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a real person. So-
Oh,
He's the
Yeah.
king of Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
Like the last one before.
Yeah, I
Huh.
believe so. Well,
King
before the
Kamehameha
banana...
died 1819.
Yeah, died pretty much.
Oh, he had a son. I mean, two successors.
Yeah, but then the Banana Men came in and ruined everything.
Yeah, they tended to do that a lot.
Okay, any other questions?
He's known as the conqueror of the Hawaiian Islands, which is a weird sentence to hear. Yeah. It's not something you hear in history, really.
I have destroyed Greenland. It is now mine.
Yeah. Like, on a practical level, I'd love to visit, like, London and Australia. Yeah. There's a very big difference in scope between the two things I just said. Germany and Canada. I just want to be at a bunch of places. And of course, the generic thing is, of course, I want to visit Japan, but also I'm slightly terrified of going places where I can't communicate with anybody.
Yeah, it's not a great experience when you get like a health thing, though. It sucks.
I also really want to go to Italy and Greece because, I mean, on my father's side of the family originates from there, like my great-grandfather Poniatis Fotopoulos and such. And it's just... all the Croatians when we were in Croatia thought I was Italian. It was funny. But I suppose I'd look it.
There was no ambiguity about me.
Well, you look... What, German Scandinavian or something?
I look American. Let's be honest here.
Well, that's the thing. Americans,
welcome to America.
A bunch
we speak
of things.
American and we look American.
That's why you need to stop wearing your like red, white, and blue like tank top and like your Michael Jordan
look, I paid
cargo
a lot.
Shorts.
I paid a lot for my American flag onesie, and I'm not going to just like leave it at home when I go traveling.
Like, you walk into any restaurant and you're like, speak English.
Plaid
give me a hamburger.
Where do people wear plaid in the universe?
On
Scotland?
In the universe?
That's a big scope. I
It's a wide
figured Milky
net.
Way. There you are. that probably narrows it down.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the
bet.
Andromeda Galaxy.
Milky Way and Darth Gargulor 5.
Darth Gargula.
We get over to Darth Gargulor 5 and they get really offended at us because plaid is the color of royalty.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, oh, look at these pretentious bastards with their plaid.
That's like people with purple way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Only the Caesars can wear purple. Be gone with
or
you.
wearing white to a wedding.
Oh, God.
Have you done that before, Wander?
No. I've seen it happen, though.
Oh.
The, like, classic, like, mother-in-law that doesn't get along, that wears, like, the really nice white dress, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing?
I just thought it would look nice when I wanted to be out with my real family.
I don't even know why wedding dresses are white anymore.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I dislike the idea of getting a dress that you only wear once. And
There's nothing stopping you.
Never get married. You're done.
It's easy. Every weekend.
Well, the thing is, like, obviously they could be expensive, but just having it that white. I mean, I'd prefer something colored.
Don't a lot of people rent their wedding dresses?
Or you can rent, yeah.
I mean, I haven't been to a lot of weddings for people that weren't getting married for the second or third time. So I have the biased experience of encountering people that are getting remarried and they care less each consecutive time.
That's what I've heard, is that, like, the magic really starts to go out by wedding 3 or 4.
Well, the first wedding is like a magical, crazy, life-changing experience, and this is what your life's going to be forever now, except for when it's not. And then you're like, well, we got to get this paper signed, so let's have a party, and then we'll dress up, and this guy will get us married. So,
I've actually had kind of the reverse, where, like, the older they get, the more they like get married again, the more they're like trying to recapture their youth. So I had one cousin who's already had like a kid. Her first 2 husbands were foreign nationals that got with her to get into the U.S. pretty much.
I think they left her after the 5-year mark to get the green cards.
It
something.
was super obvious and super painful. So like her most recent wedding was like her more or less acting like a teenager as a like 40-year-old woman, and it's just like,
oh, cringe.
You're weird. I don't like this. And like This is when her dad was going kind of loopy too, and just like
died.
several other things. Yeah, he's dead now, but like, it was just this like very bizarre experience of like being there only for the reception because we flew in the day, like that day. So like we touched down when they were getting married, and then we get over there and it's just like, so this is really weird because she was really drunk.
What?
Yeah. And her kid was there.
Damn, dude, that story had everything.
Yeah.
When my mom got remarried last year, it was almost a photo op, basically. Like, we went to Pismo Beach, a place like just north of it.
I've heard of that from cartoons.
Yeah.
You guys were talking
This
about
isn't
that the other
Pismo
time.
Beach. I must have taken a wrong turn in Albuquerque.
I've heard of that place too.
Yeah, I think we've also referenced that exact skit here before.
Yeah, I think we did it literally last time we podcasted.
We probably did it. We probably did it when I talked about Pismo Beach from when I left for the wedding after a month.
Probably.
But it was just like one of those chained like cliffs that's above it's just a big drop off point, and there's just like a park in the area and stuff like that, and we just put up some little like pretty things on the chains like you would have along the wall at a wedding or something, and like they were all dressed up and we took pictures and had a ceremony, and then we drove off. And it was funny how nonchalant some of it was, because the guy who married them officially on the way in encountered another couple trying to get married and actually got them married on spur of the moment right there, because they already had their paperwork and they were picking out spots and stuff. But just the fact that
that's funny,
the fact that there was somebody there to officiate was like, oh crap, yeah, let's just get married right now. It's like they're probably gonna they probably went on to do an actual ceremony of some kind later, but like they got the paperwork officially done right there, which is how you actually get married.
I don't understand why you have to have officiants.
You don't.
You don't.
It's like a witness.
I know that you
just
need
get a
witnesses.
notary.
You don't need a priest. Like, Shell, if we wanted to, we could rent a
You
chapel.
definitely don't need a priest.
Yeah.
We don't want a chapel. I want to get married at the planetarium.
Okay, so we can walk down whatever aisle, get to the end, wave our marriage license around, and be like, we're married. All right, let's go eat dinner. Like, literally, you could do that. Or you could just skip it and go
what kind
straight
of
to dinner.
You take like an online test to become like an ordained minister for weddings.
Oh yeah,
like
my brother and Crafty Gnomes are both ordained.
Wait,
Yep.
why can't your brother marry us?
Why can't he?
Yeah.
He can.
could.
Did Wander
no.
Oh,
What have we fallen upon here today?
Ooh, yeah. Did you know every
tell
pilot's
me.
ordained?
What? Do we want to just ask my brother to get us married like whenever?
No, not whenever. Like when
Okay.
the actual thing happens, okay?
Like,
That is
hey,
a
I know that you were
discussion
coming by
we
to
should have later.
visit, but while you're here, and then you like lead him into a room, and it's just like decked out.
quick,
Like-
edit out of the podcast and also her memory.
You're like, oh, weird how I left all of our marriage stuff just laying around the house. Well, I mean, since it's already out and you're here, why don't you just, do your thing?
All I know is my grandma wants us to get married before she dies, and she's
That's what
told me
grandmas
that.
do.
Just like, you guys have been together for over 6 years, please.
Did you know that every pilot has to be ordained? Or, I mean, they get ordained?
I thought it was
you
ship
know.
captain.
Why?
Oh, maybe it can be both. Maybe. Oh, that's true. Actually, I've been on like cruises because that's what you do when you go visit family. They're like, yeah, let's go like do the boat thing, and I'm like, cool, we're on the boat thing, and they're always like, if anybody wants to, or what was it?
They
Yeah,
just
like there was
expect
a
people
group,
to fall in love and...
I like that
And-
there's this
Yeah,
idea of
there's
like,
some
thanks for
boats.
visiting us in our town. Let's get the hell out of this town.
No, it's like these people were like they had just gotten married, and then the boat captain guy was like, every captain is also an ordained minister, or something like that. And
That's because they had to bury people at sea.
What?
In the ancient times.
Is that something?
That...
Yes, I remember. That was my favorite part of history.
I remember the
It's
ancient
like-
American Navy.
Oh, right.
My history textbook was divided into two sections: the ancient times and the 1990
Ancienter times.
onward. and the Bill Clinton, here comes the internet times.
Yeah. Yeah, back when Reagan was president, they didn't even finish carving the Mayan calendar yet. Still work in progress, but he put a stop to that. It's like, no, the world ends in 2012.
I apologize for using ancient. Ancient should probably only be attributed to things like 1,000 or 2,000 years ago.
Probably.
Probably.
Definitely not within our lifetimes or anything like that.
But, okay.
Grandma, you're ancient.
Back when Sea Voyage was perilous and fraught with death and disease, they were burying people at sea all the time. You could get scurvy.
That's a really fancy way to say kicking the dead guy off the boat.
I don't know. Seafaring is pretty dangerous nowadays. My mom got a hook through her hand.
What?
Yeah. And then she got to hear that funny lesson you learn from fantasy movies, where you find out that the arrow should be pushed all the way through instead of yanked out.
Yeah.
But it was a hook in her hand. It's like, no, we gotta push it the other side out till it breaks skin so we can cut it off. Because if we pull it out, it's gonna do more damage.
Was this like a big fishing hook?
Yeah.
Or what?
There was a fishing hook in her hand.
How big was this fishing hook?
Big enough to pierce the hands.
Well, it depends on what kind
we were
of fish
both
you're fishing
sarcastic
for.
in different ways.
Yay!
We should be friends more often.
I know.
We were fishing for sand dabs.
What are sand dabs?
So that's like a...
Also,
It's
I
a bad
dabbed.
dance that people
I
do.
dabbed to confuse my mom, and she was very confused, and that was the whole story.
Wow, this one's...
So
that
sand
sort of
dabs
was really
are kind
off
of
the
a
hook.
horrifying mistake of a creature.
Yeah,
'Cause
they
they're
have both
one-
their eyes on one side.
Yeah,
Well, that's because they're like flounder.
They're one of those
Yeah.
fish that clearly started out as a vertical fish and then turned into a horizontal fish. So they clearly
Yeah.
like their eyes are skewed to one side and their mouth is still on the bottom of what would be their bottom if they were a vertical fish, and all the organs are on the bottom compared to if they were vertical, but they're horizontal. So it's like they're laying on the side for all their life and their face is twisted around to make that almost work. They're really depressing, shitty fish.
Evolution is a process of like, this'll work.
Yeah. But for this weekend, and then specifically yesterday, actually, we were on a fishing trip. And when I say we, I mean everyone else was on a fishing trip, and I was watching because I don't care about fishing. So I was like, I'm just going to hang out and not hurt myself or anything.
I tried
Did
that
she get the
once,
hook
and
through
I
her
spent
hand when
the
someone
entire
was
time-
casting? Because that's a big no-no.
Yeah, that's... Well, I mean...
There was no casting
Yeah.
because there are sand dabs, which are bottom feeders, which means you literally attach a weight to your hook and you just lower it.
Okay, so what? How
That's
does
not
the
even
hook get in
fishing
her?
at that point.
It's pretty unexciting, even by fishing standards. But other people were paying a lot of money to do it, I guess, and I was watching.
How big are sand dabs?
The ones we were seeing were generally like, the size of the Switch, actually, the Nintendo Switch.
What?
those
That's
are
nothing.
those are pretty small even for sand dabs.
Yeah.
Damn.
Eventually, one guy caught one that was probably like the size of probably about the size of a tennis racket.
Oh, nice.
That's like the size that I think of.
But that was
when I
one
think
the
of, like,
entire
flounder
time.
and sand dab, and
Because
like,
all the
those
young,
things.
stupid ones get caught, and all the ones that are big probably have learned not to do that, or they wouldn't be big by now. And hanging out at fishing sites that people go to every day for their job.
Except for that one. That one was definitely on the bottom end of the bell curve of sand dab.
Yeah. And in case you thought that sand dab fishing was boring, they also went crabbing in that they went to there was a bunch of cages that were already placed there like the day before, and they were going around and hooking the cages and then slowly like cranking them to get into the boat.
I was going to say, going crabbing is literally just like doing somebody else's chore.
You just bring a cage up to the boat over and over again. And they kept doing that over
like
and over
lobsters?
again. So we went
whatever,
home with like
yeah.
4 live crabs, and they were relatively large crabs. And so they went through all the effort of murdering and cooking crabs. My brother put them all in the freezer so they would sort of die off, and then butchered them all. And,
I thought you were supposed to boil them alive.
well, they
Or
froze
is
them.
that's lobster.
There was their attempt at being more humane was to freeze them instead of literally boiling them alive.
Yeah.
So they killed them that way first, more or less. I don't know. I wasn't
Well,
really
I thought
involved.
that lobsters secrete a poison or something. If
I was
they're
literally gone the
built
whole
that
weekend
way.
just to hang out with family and just be there, and I didn't do anything the whole time, and I just sort of witnessed things happening.
That's what hanging out with your family becomes when you're an adult.
Yeah.
And you have different interests from your family.
It's like when you go to dinner with your grandparents. Like, it's just gonna be it's the food and talking is gonna happen, and then eventually you go home. And that was more or less how my weekend was, as people were fishing
How are you
and
going,
crabbing.
Graham? Oh, I just went to the doctor again. I'm like, oh yeah, again. How was the doctor? Dr. Jane, he's a really nice
They haven't
fellow.
found out what's wrong with me yet.
He's got warm hands, if you know what I
They
mean.
say, oh,
Carol,
Oh.
that's gross.
your grandma's a whore. I
Wow.
don't care. I'm 902.
Whoever she's talking
I'm from
to, the grandma
ancient
must be
times.
dead, right? From ancient times.
I remember when George Washington built the pyramids.
Well,
That's
I think we hit the weird.
That's some
weird
interesting
cap.
Assassin's Creed history going on there.
Dude, I would love to play an Assassin's Creed game set in like the
Wouldn't
most
they have
bullshit
made the
location
Illuminati
ever.
like Egyptian cultists, like some kind of descend?
According
hey,
to
it's why we
Assassin's
have the
Creed,
pyramid
literally
on our
every point in
dollar
history
bills.
has an Illuminati antagonist.
No, it'd be great to play like an Assassin's Creed game where like somebody's bullshitting the history and then like the narrator realizes it and then
Assassin's
tries
Creed
to like,
drunk history.
oh yes, that has to happen.
That would be
Wow.
great.
That's
would
like
be, that would
doing that for
be
an entire video game is like lethal amounts of alcohol poisoning. You will just
Yeah.
kill off your cast member midway through game production.
But
just
they'd be like,
You know what? That's fine. You go through 3 different narrators and they have like partial notes. So the second one shows up like midway through and is just like,
Every single
oh,
time they
geez.
change,
Oh, hey.
the new person starts talking and the old person just has like funeral music playing in the background. Like, starting to smell in
Ordained
here.
by Wander's brother.
Okay, so this is interesting. It sort of ties back into what we were talking about last time with like Taft and other lesser-known presidents. Like, what president that has never really been featured in a feature film would you want a feature film made of?
Who's
Oh,
that guy that died like 4 days into office?
William.
It's just a
Zachary
real life
Taylor?
recreation of his 4 days in office as a was it a UK like
Yeah, that was-
short series.
That was William Henry Harrison, correct?
William Henry Harrison? Oh, so who's Zachary Taylor then? I
Died
must get
31
them
days
mixed
into
up.
his term. Zachary Taylor is the really, really unnotable one from like he was like the 3rd or the 4th, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think.
Clearly, we need to brush up on our U.S.
The problem
presidents.
The thing about the issue with this question is that generally, if we know about it, it's probably because they've been portrayed a lot. And if they haven't been
Well,
portrayed a
yeah.
lot, we
That's
might
the
not
thing.
know
There
shit
have been movies about
them.
Lincoln. There's been movies about the founding fathers.
I want to take
so
a heavily. I want to see a
Washington,
heavily
Adams,
idealized.
Jefferson.
Like I want to see a president that's like worshipped by some group of people or something, and like very much beloved for being this pillar of all their beliefs or something like that, and then just have a very realistic portrayal of how they actually were.
What
And
about
just
Ulysses
have that
S.
whiplash
Grant?
happen of like people like having to come to terms with their entire idea of that president being a lie, basically.
So
That'd be nice.
basically,
Reagan?
Carter would be a good person, or Reagan for like complete reverse reasons.
Yeah, those would
Yeah.
both work. The presidents that are just old enough that they no longer feel like real people, but historical figures, even though they were alive when a lot of people were alive and that would talk about them in the first place. And you get nostalgic about them the way you do like the Ninja Turtles cartoon, but for their age. And so they have
What's
this
the
whole
old
like,
guy?
so they have this like terribly warped idea of what they remember and stuff like that.
I wonder why there
Reagan would be
hasn't been
kind
a
of
film.
meta. That's true. Actor playing an actor.
Yeah.
I wonder why there hasn't been a big feature film with like Andrew Jackson and all the wars that he
Because
took
he was
part
a
in.
dick.
Wasn't he awful?
Yeah, Andrew Jackson was really,
Isn't
really,
he the Trail
really
of Tears
bad.
president?
Yeah, he is the Trail of Tears president.
There was an Andrew Jackson movie in 2007 made for TV.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh.
That's the most recent one. Yeah, he was played by I was gonna say he was played by someone, but he's played by 3 different actors.
Oh, well, for different parts in his life
And
or something.
they're all unknowns because it's a TV movie, but there's probably movies for every actor.
Have you remember Lincoln
President.
Vampire Slayer?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
That was
Bad movie.
hilarious.
Hilarabad's a good way to put it, yeah.
So what book was that one parodying?
I
Is that
think it's the same title.
No.
Yeah,
I
it wasn't
mean,
parodying
no.
anything, but you're talking about the author. They wrote the Jane Austen.
No, I mean all
was
of
it?
I mean that every single book in that series is a parody of an actual literature book.
Yeah.
I don't
I used to have a copy which I never actually read, which was
Okay.
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Right, that's what I was going to say. It's by those people.
Is it by
But that
them?
one,
Mashup
I don't think
novel,
that
the
one.
same.
This was produced by Tim Burton, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I think it's just.
This
That's
is
a
by
whole
Seth Graham
series.
Smith. I don't think it's the same.
Yeah.
It's it's like Asylum where they just have a gimmick
Oh.
of their own.
So I think in the case of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, this it wasn't based on any specific book because it was more historical. But most of the other things,
Is it Seth?
Seth. So all the other books he wrote were based off of more popular.
Yeah, they wrote Pride and Prejudice and Zombies and stuff like
What
that.
I thought was hilarious was there was a movie released almost at the same time. One of those films trying to make a buck off of it by having some kind of bootleg second-rate version where it was Abraham Lincoln versus zombies.
Oh,
It's just
that's
like,
right. I thought it was going to be
really?
something worse, like Nixon versus.
Oh, I've heard
I don't
about
know,
that.
the
So
Martians.
Asylum, the studio that just makes really shitty ripoffs of anything going to theaters and actually makes the entire movie based on the trailer and cranks it out quickly and usually gets
That's
them out
right.
before they even reach the theater. They
So
make
it can
stuff
trick
like
your grandma.
Paranormal Entity and shit like that.
Yeah.
And the
then
funny
they put
thing
it
is,
at the
you see
checkout
them-
line.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
you
put them in
see-
discount aisles and shit to trick your grandma into buying the wrong thing based on all the hype and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But what I've heard is I've actually heard from multiple sources now that Abraham Lincoln Zombie Slayer is better than Vampire Hunter because of how
Really?
bad Vampire Hunter was.
Huh.
Because supposedly Vampire Hunter's just boring, whereas Zombie Slayer is actually supposed to be kind of funny as a shitty movie.
Well,
I
my
got you
brother
your
and my
new
dad saw the zombie
Pokemon
one.
movie.
But
It's
Asylum movies are
William
generally
Howard
just
Taft
unwatchable.
versus the
Well,
Mummy.
I'm in
Transmorphers.
Transmorphers.
What I'm baffled by are the ones that show up at the Red Box, and they're the rip-off animated versions of things like Frozen and various Disney
You guys have
movies or
all heard of
DreamWorks
the
movies.
Sense of Right Alliance, right?
Yes.
What's that?
Okay. No.
Here,
No,
I'll show
Carl
you the
doesn't
picture.
want. Wander doesn't want to hear about it.
We've
so
been
it's
going
fine.
for 2 hours, so we should probably.
Snakes on a Train. The Da Vinci Treasure.
Yeah, it is probably time.
Wait, is this where
To
they
wrap this one
repackage
up.
action figures?
Yeah. So the Sense of Right Alliance is a Chinese knockoff where they're trying to make a Justice League. but-
Actually, this is so
War of
sad.
the Worlds 2.
I got into one of those discount stores with my mom, and I saw. So I have pretty much all of the Beast Wars Transmetal figures from the 90s because they're awesome. They're very articulated, really well made. Anyways, I saw a ripoff thing that used the same model and mold as the Megatron Dragon. But the interesting thing was it was practically incapable of transforming, at least from what I could gauge, because they left a lot of the seams stuck together and such. So it wasn't. It was just permanently in dragon motor robot mode, depending on which version you got. And it was obviously painted blue, so it wasn't even the correct color. And yeah, I just. Do they keep the molds in China, and then if people can get their hands on them, they continue producing the statuettes and figures? Because I've seen this with
Yeah,
World of
they
Warcraft
definitely do that.
statuettes.
They definitely do that.
There is that one part of China where there's basically an entire city that's entirely dedicated to making what is essentially the contents of dollar stores. And they just mass produce these trinkets and little things, and then the primary buyers are people that walk in and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'll take 500 billion of those for my store chain," and then they mass buy these cheap figurines and sell those, and that's the entire business model of like an entire town in China. So I wouldn't be surprised if the knockoff stuff comes from there too. Mm-hmm. And if you never heard of this, there's a really, really good Radiolab about it. I think it's Radiolab.
I'm actually kind of interested in this, and
that's a really cool one.
But that's how Radiolab works.
Yeah,
Radiolab's fucking awesome.
Carl and I were having an argument as to whether or not stuffed animals are produced by machines or people. And I was looking into it, and while the machines can cut the fabric, they cannot assemble the stuffed animals. So...
And they look terrifying when they're not done.
So it's interesting, yeah, they still have people sewing them all up, and I know how much work that takes, because I was making all my little dragons for conventions.
Anybody have a nice, awkward story to end this podcast on?
End it.
I always talk about like Jewish Native Americans again.
Those don't exist.
Is there like one last question that's sort of cringeworthy? Or
I'm sure there is.
interesting?
You have asked the right question.
Okay.
You just want a really bad one? Wait, is that a new one? Wait. Crab? I mean,
Like
there was
we're
one
just
dumb one. There was one
grasping at
really
straws.
not great one where someone was just like,
You
where'd
don't
it
need to
go?
read their name if it's going to be embarrassing, though.
Somebody asks if we prefer phoenixes or dragons.
Dragons.
Oh no!
Dragons.
Oh no! That gasp is dangerous.
Dragons.
Dragons.
Let's
No
just
contest.
3, 2, 1 this.
I think
Also-
that mystical beasts are the least interesting part of most fantasy stories.
But
Nope.
think about the dragon and
This is going-
phoenix dishes that you get at restaurants. Do you prefer the sesame chicken or the shrimp?
What? I don't understand the question. I don't understand.
2,
You've never had that dish at a Chinese restaurant?
Nope. Nope. We've gone too far away. All
I
right.
saw a werewolf with a Chinese chicken menu in his hand.
Thanks for watching, everyone. If you want to send podcast questions our way, it's four nerds
Four
save the
nerds-
universe.
No.
No?
It's fournerdsquestions
Questions.
at gmail.com.
Yeah.
The
That's
end.
the thing.